in case we need it. We can all go back and look at it. I corrected your quizzes, your quiz 6, not the one that was due yesterday, but the one that was due last week. And so one of the things I was seeing was we were missing up place value. So I just want to talk about that really quickly. And then before we get into doing 6.5, I want to do a few more practice problems, converting specifically to within just the American system and just within the metric system before we look at going back and forth between the two systems. So if we talk about place value. So let me share my screen. Okay, so let's talk about place value. So if we have our decimal point and then we have numbers, let's say we have so I have 1375.632. So the decimal positions, these are the tenths, these are the hundredths, and these are the thousands. But on the other side, this is where things kind of get confusing, right? Because our decimal portions, we have tenths, hundredths, and thousands. When we go on the other side of the decimal point, the first position is the ones. And then we have the tens, the hundreds, and the thousands. So you'll notice that the fractional part or the decimal part, all of those terms end in THS. So, and all the whole number parts, they don't. So what I want you to do is I want you to round to the nearest tens and then round to the nearest hundredths and send me your answer for both of those. Okay, so when we're rounding, the first one to the nearest tens. So the 7 is in the tens position, right? So if we write our number out, we want to round to the nearest tens, which is the 7, right? So we look to the right in order to determine what that does. So the 5 tells the 7 to round up. So that means we're going to have 1,380. And then what do you do after that? Do you have to put anything for the remaining decimal places? And you don't. Once we have the digit we're rounding to done, you need to fill in any zeros that represent the whole number digits. but after the decimal point, you don't have to put those in. So our answer is just 1,380. For rounding to the nearest hundredths, I've got 1,375.632. Again, the hundredths is the 3 is in the hundredths position. So we're going to look at that 2 to determine what we do to the 3. So the 2 tells the 3 to stay the same. So we have 1,375.63. And again, we don't have to do anything beyond that. We don't have to put a 0 as a placeholder. Once we get to the digit we rounded, we're done. The only time we have to add zeros is if the digit we round is greater than 1, meaning, sorry, the place value is more than 1. So like I said, in the first example, when we rounded to the nearest tens, we had to still put something to represent that 1's position. So you don't need to put anything after that. What other questions do we have about rounding? Because like I said, this was a common problem.
Is it wrong if you put the zeros at the end?
It's not, I mean, it's not wrong, it's just not necessary.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. All right, so let's try some conversion problems. So your first problem says convert 101 inches to yards, round to the nearest 1/10 of a yard. So if you're looking for your conversion amounts, so the conversions that you would want to use for the American system are going to be on page 100 of your notebook. So you can go ahead and pull those up in order to convert this. Okay, so in order to go from inches to yards, we have to go first from inches to feet, and then from feet to yards. So first of all, we know that 12 inches equals 1 foot, and that 3 feet equals 1 yard. So if we take our 101 inches and we put it over 1, so the amount that we're converting, we always place over 1 first. And then we're going to multiply it by our first conversion factor. Again, we always have to make the decision of, does the 12 inches go in the numerator and the 1 foot goes in the denominator, or do we flip it? Because we want to cancel inches, we want to put 12 inches in the denominator and 1 foot in the numerator. Then we can add on our second conversion factor that takes and converts our units of measure from feet to yards. How do I know that I'm going from feet to yards? Well, this first conversion factor canceled out my inches, so now I have feet. So I need to put my 3 feet in the denominator. Again, the unit we're canceling is always diagonal, and 1 yard. So 3 feet is in the denominator, excuse me, and 1 yard in the numerator. Multiplying straight across the top and straight across the bottom, we get 101 over 36. And if we divide that, that's 2.805 repeating. And since I told you to round to the nearest tenth, we're going to say that's approximately equal to 2.8 yards. So the next one I want you to do is to convert 3.4 tons to ounces. So this is going to be another two-step conversion, meaning we're going to have 2 conversion factors that we're using. So if you're trying to figure out where to start, this is a unit of weight. So if you're looking at page 100, within that box, it's got American units of weight, and there's 2 conversion factors there that you're going to want to use. So go ahead and look at that to get an idea of what you should be using. Okay, so on page 105, in that box, we see that 1 pound equals 16 ounces and that 1 ton equals 2,000 pounds. So in order to go from tons to ounces, we first need to go from tons to pounds and then from pounds to ounces. So we're going to take the unit that we need to convert and we're going to put it over 1. And we're going to multiply by our first conversion factor. Again, we're trying to cancel tons. So our first conversion factor is going to relate 1 ton to 2,000 pounds. Because we're trying to cancel tons, we're going to put 1 ton in the denominator and 2,000 pounds in the numerator. Again, that will cancel our tons out. And now we need to cancel our pounds in order to go from pounds to ounces. In order to go from pounds to ounces, we have the 1 pound equals 16 ounces. And so we're going to do 16 ounces in the numerator and 1 pound in the denominator. Our pounds will cancel. And again, we're left with ounces. So multiplying straight across the top, we have 3.4 times 2,000 times 16 gives us 108,800 ounces. Okay, so one more for this one, and I want you to convert. Ooh, let's try one of these because we didn't do one of these. So we're going to convert 354 feet per second to miles per hour. And then it says round your answer to the nearest mile per hour. So when tackling this, let's think about this. We need to go from feet to miles and from seconds to hours. Okay, so there's 2 different conversions that we're going to be working on here. So just try it out. Again, you can find the conversion factors you need on page 100. Okay, so in order to go from feet to miles, we know that 5,280 feet equals 1 mile. And to go from seconds to hours, we first have to go from seconds to minutes and then from minutes to hours. And so 60 seconds equals 1 minute and 60 minutes equals 1 hour. So if we start with this, we have 354 feet. And then the per second means over 1 second is how I want to set this up. Now I can use all of my conversion factors at once. So if we want to first convert our feet to miles, we're going to put the 1 mile over 5,280 feet. Then to convert our time, we're going to put in, so this cancels the feet. So now I've got seconds on the bottom I want to get rid of. So I'm going to put 60 seconds in the numerator and 1 minute in the denominator. So that cancels the seconds. And then to go from minutes to hours, which is what we need, right? We're trying to get miles per hour. I'm going to put 60 minutes over 1 hour, and that will cancel. And what I'm left with is miles on top and hours on the bottom. So multiplying straight across, I'm going to have 354 times 60 times 60, right? The 354 times 60 times 60 gives me a big number. What is this? 1,247,000. Nope, not 47, 74. 74,400 over, since I just have a whole bunch of ones, it's just going to be 5,280. And then because we want per hour, we're going to divide that. So taking the 1,274,400, we divide that by 5,280, and we get 241.36 repeating. So it's 363636. And I want you to round to the nearest whole mile per hour. So we're going to say approximately 241 miles per hour. So again, if it's hard to do all of it at once, meaning thinking about having the conversion for miles from feet to miles and then adding on the time conversion, you can certainly do this in 2 steps. Meaning you could first have done the 354 divided by 5,280. But that would have given you a big long decimal. And so if you kept rounding intermittently, it would end up not being as accurate as what you want. So the most accurate calculation is to do it all as one this way, right? Multiplying straight across the top, straight across the bottom, and then at the very end dividing. So what tripped you up here? Let's talk about this one, because that's a hard one, right?
I did it separately.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so first dividing and then multiplying by 60 and multiplying by 60. And so you were saying that you had 0.067 feet over 0.008 of an hour. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, I something like that. I don't even know.
You're like, I came up with something.
I got the feet to miles, and then I did seconds to minutes to hours, which mine looks different than yours.
Yeah, so your feet to miles is the 0.067. That part is correct. But I bet you divided by 60 twice instead of multiplying by 60 twice.
I did, because I did 1 second instead of 60 seconds.
Yeah, that'll get you.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you had multiplied by 60 twice, you would have gotten there, I think.
Let's just say I would have. It makes the story sound better.
Oh,
Yes,
I
I
love it. Oh, all right, let's look at some metric ones. And so let's convert $4,571 millimeters to that's supposed to be an M. Meters. Okay, so if you need help with your metric stuff, those conversions are on page 102 and 103 in your notebook. Okay, so a way that you can monitor if your answer is accurate. So millimeters are smaller than meters, correct? Right? Because we know 1 meter equals 1,000 millimeters. So if I'm going from a small unit of measure to a bigger unit of measure, our answer actually gets smaller because we're representing it as a portion of that bigger unit of measure. So what that means is if I'm taking 4,571 millimeters, I'm going to multiply it by my conversion factor of 1 meter over 1,000 millimeters. Again, I need to make sure that my unit of measure is diagonal so that I can cancel it out. Ensuring that means that I have to divide by 1,000. So this gives me 4.571. There's a method called decimal bumping that they use, that instructors will sometimes use with unit conversion in the metric system. And so if we have our units of measure, so let's see, what do we got? We got, so this is deci, centi, milli, and then this is your unit, and this is deca, hecto, and kilo. So if I'm down here and I want to go this way, meaning I'm converting from milli to our unit meters, that means we're going to move the decimal point to the left. So in our number, we have 4,571, and I want to go from milli to meter. So this is millimeter, and this is meter. So because I'm going from a smaller amount to a larger amount, I need to move the decimal place, the number of place values I'm going. So you can see I would go 1, 2, 3, which means I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, giving me 4.571. However, if I'm going the opposite way, then I'm going to be moving my decimal point to the right. So if I was down here at kilo and I wanted to move to meters, then I would be moving the decimal point to the right. So example, I have 7.32 kilometers and I want to convert it to meters. I would take 7.32 and I need to, how many places do I need to move that decimal? I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. So 1, 2, 3, I have to add a 0. So 7.32 kilometers is equal to 7,320 meters. So the reason I don't necessarily focus on this method is because it only works with metric. And so when you're converting between the metric and the American system, it doesn't work. Like you can't use it. But if you're just within metric, you can have this idea of what we, like I said, calling decimal bumping. So to try, if you want to try that technique, let's look at converting. So convert 70 grams to centigrams. So 1 gram equals 100 centigrams. So if I put 70 grams on top, I'm going to have 1 gram in the bottom and 100 centigrams in the numerator. When I multiply these together, I end up with 7,000 centigrams. So if I did that decimal bumping, okay, let's erase the stuff I've got on here. Remember when I said that if you're starting at a unit above the decimal point and you're moving to a unit below the decimal point, you're moving it to the right. So I have 70 grams and I want to go to centigrams. So I need to move the decimal point once, twice, meaning I need to add 2 zeros, giving me 7,000 centigrams. All right, let's do one more before we go to, actually, I don't want us to, we don't have that much time. We'll do one more and then we'll go to the new material. So we're going to convert 15,665 milliliters to liters. Excuse me. Oh, sorry.
Bless you.
Thank you. So 1 liter equals 1,000 milliliters. So we're going to take 15,665 milliliters, put it over 1, and we're going to multiply by the 1 liter over 1,000 milliliters. This causes our decimal to move 3 places to the left, giving us 15.665 liters as our final answer. All right, so if we look at page 105 in our notebook, we have conversions between American and metric. And so how do you know which one to use? So the left-hand side is American to metric, meaning start with American, convert to metric. And an example with this is convert 7 inches to centimeters. That's when you would want to use that first column. And you would set it up as 2.54 centimeters is to 1 inch. However, if you have metric and you want to convert to American, you want to use the second column. So an example of this would be convert 67 kilometers to miles. And then we would use that second column. We would specifically use this conversion factor here, and we would say 0.6214 miles over 1 kilometer. So you'll notice this first set is all our length conversions, right? This is all lengths. And then we have mass. So these are pounds, ounces, grams, kilograms, all that business. And then we have volume, which is our liquid. So to obtain better approximations, you need to use a conversion factor that is more accurate. Anytime you feel you need to be more accurate, you might try an online conversion utility, such as the one at that website. So how do these work? What are we doing? Let's go to the next page. The nice thing is that the problems are going to tell you what conversion you should use. But on your exam, you will have a conversion table available to you, and you will have to pick out your conversion for yourself. So number 1 says use the conversion of 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters to convert 40 centimeters to inches. Round to the nearest 1/10 of an inch. So we have 40 centimeters. We're going to put it over 1, and then we need to put in our conversion factor. So I want you to try that one and send me your answer. All right, good job, everyone. So because we're converting centimeters, we want to put the 2.54 centimeters in the denominator and the 1 inch in the numerator. So we're going to take 40 and divide it by 2.54, giving us 15.74803, blah, blah, blah. And since we want to round to the nearest 1/10 of an inch, that means we're going to say it's approximately 15.7 inches. So number 3 says use the conversion of 1 kilogram equals 2.2 pounds to convert 58 kilograms to pounds. Round to the nearest 1/10 of a pound. So we're converting 58 kilograms. And we're gonna use the conversion factor of 1 kilogram is 2.2 pounds, meaning we have 2.2 pounds on top, 1 kilogram in the denominator. Multiplying through, we get 127.6 pounds. And we already have an answer to the nearest 10th, so we don't have to worry about rounding. All right. Number 2 says convert 1 mile, or sorry, use the conversion factor that 1 mile equals 1.6093 kilometers to convert 60 miles to kilometers. Round to the nearest 10th of a kilometer. Okay, so good job, everyone. We've got 60 miles. We're going to multiply it by 1.6093 kilometers over 1 mile, because again, we're trying to cancel miles, so miles needs to be in the denominator. And when we multiply these together, 60 times 1.6093, we get 96.558 kilometers, and they want to the nearest 10th. So approximately 96.6 kilometers. And the last one says use the conversion of 1 quart equals 0.946 liters to convert 8 quarts to liters. Round your answer to the nearest 100th of a liter. Okay, so we want to convert 8 quarts. So we're going to put 8 quarts over 1, and we're going to multiply it by 0.946 liters over 1 quart. So our quarts will cancel. Multiplying across, I end up with 7.568 liters. They want to the nearest hundredth of a liter. So the 6 is in the hundredth position. So it's approximately 7.57 liters. Okay, so one thing I want to remind, or not remind you of, because you might not even know it's there. At the back of your notebook on page 132, there is a whole collection of all of these conversions together on one page. So if while you're doing your homework, you don't have to keep flipping back between all the different notebook pages, you can look on page 132 and you've got all of your conversions at once. So when we look at what we've got due, because I forgot to put, I'm so sorry, I forgot to put the announcement in for this week about what we have due. You know, yesterday was quiz 7 and today we covered 6.5. On Monday, we're going to have homework 6.3, 6.4, and 6.5 due. So all of those will be due together. And then next Tuesday, we have test 4. So I will get your quiz 7s graded as fast as I can this week so that you can review all of that material in order to be able to take your test next week. Okay. So what questions do you have for me before we go?
I don't have any. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, everyone. Well, I hope you have a great day and a great weekend, and I will see you back on Monday. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.